Welcome to a Gallen of Questions. My name is Pat Gallen, and today we're talking baseball as the All-Star break is just ending and the stretch run of the season is here. So joining us in studio is a Cherry Hill Haddonfield native.
Wow.
Let me scratch that. How could I do that? Also a Penn grad. She's been a contributor at Yahoo, SNY, MLB Network, Deadspin, Vice. Did I miss anything?
Lately, I've been writing a lot for The Ringer.
The
Front Office
Ringer.
Sports.
I forgot about that. I didn't.
The Guardian.
I didn't prepare either.
Okay, this
Hannah
is good.
Kaiser is here. Hi, Hannah.
Hello.
Thanks for taking the trip. You came down from New York, but this is your.
I was happy to do
Hometown.
it. I was. My family was like, will we be seeing you? And I was like, you.
Let me find out the information first before I tell you.
I was like, why? What do you want to see me for?
You're doing a great newsletter with Zach Kreiser called the Bandwagon. How did you? I always ask people like the origins, but like, how do you get into baseball writing?
How did I get into baseball writing? That's a great question. I did not know that I was going to be a baseball writer. I grew up in the area, like you said, not in Cherry Hill. Jeez, closer to Philly than that.
I'm never gonna live there.
I always tell people I'm from Philly, and then they say what part, and then I say South Jersey, and then they say like, oh, so like Mike Trout, and I'm like, no, like a lot closer than Mike Trout. And I was a big Phillies fan. I had the first thing I ever bought with my own money, saved up my allowance, was a 1980 pennant.
Oh, cool.
I was born in 1990, so.
I think I have a 1980 pennant right in
Oh,
that
do you
stack
really?
right there.
I still have
fish
it.
out.
It's hanging in my son's room. And I went to Penn, and I was an ancient history major. Insert obvious joke about baseball. And during my time at Penn, I took a bunch of journalism classes.
Okay.
And I did a lot of Phillies stories because I knew the team and I was in Philly, and I actually did a story for like a class. I had these like really cool classes because Penn is awesome.
Yeah.
Where you would do like one big feature for the entire semester.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this sounds like a great excuse to get to hang out with the Phillies. I can't believe they said yes to this. They agreed.
That's amazing.
They agreed to let me shadow the Fanatic for like 3 months.
Really?
Yeah.
How am I just learning? This is great. This is breaking news.
And that turned into the first story I ever had published, like the first real story I ever had published was the cover. Do you remember the Daily News had a short-lived Sports Week magazine insert?
Yes, I do.
And so it was like the Fanatic, a profile essentially.
Get out.
And it was like a repurposing of the story I had done for a class for Philly or for Penn on the Philly Fanatic. And I still have, that's like the only story I've ever, it's like framed.
That's amazing.
In my house. And so again, I didn't think I wanted to work at like National Geographic or like museums or something. I studied hieroglyphics for 2 years, but I just was kind of doing this. To me, it was very much like, well, I have this knowledge base, so I'm going to kind of leverage that to keep doing some little things around Philly. I started working as an assistant for Larry Platt, he was doing a biography of Jamie Moyer at the time.
Okay.
Then I stayed his assistant when he did a biography of Stuart Scott, and I kept kind of applying to museum type stuff, but then got a summer job at Major League Baseball's commissioner's office, and then another summer job at MLB Advanced Media.
So you're trying to go this direction, and it just keeps pulling you in this direction.
And I still wasn't even sure that was what I was going to do for a living. I really got my start in sports, I think of as like my time at Deadspin, but even then, I got hired at Deadspin off of freelancing, and they hired me to be to write. They were starting what they were calling like a lifestyle vertical. It was called Adequate Man, and they were like, we want to do lifestyle along with sports. And so they were like, you seem like you know some sports and had that kind of sensibility, but are not necessarily looking to be a sports writer. So they hired me to do lifestyle content for Deadspin. And then I just kept writing more and more baseball stuff. And I covered an Olympics for them, and I covered the Triple Crown at Belmont Stakes, and like, and eventually they stopped doing lifestyle, and I was fully a sports writer.
There you are.
Yeah.
You turn
and then
around,
I
you're
still
like,
wasn't sure that I wanted to do it until I got the job at Yahoo. Like I got hired at Yahoo, and I remembered thinking, I don't know that I want to take this job because it's all baseball, and I don't know that that's what I want to do forever.
What a cool journey. So your journey has led you here to
Yes.
a Gallen of Questions. And we've got the can filled with questions. There are like maybe 15 or 20 questions in here. We'll see how many we can get to in the next few minutes. So you are the guest.
Okay.
You get to pick the first one.
Okay.
And we'll see.
Do I ask you some?
Well, we just ask him out loud.
And then we
talk.
both get to talk
we can
about it.
just
Okay.
talk about it.
What is your favorite ceremonial first pitch thrown at a baseball game? I understand why you asked me this because I just wrote about ceremonial first pitches.
Exactly.
And instead, I would like to take this opportunity to say that I would like to throw out a first pitch.
Let's do it.
I saw this. I was like, I wrote that story, and when I did that, I wrote it for Front Office Sports, and interviewed people who sort of organized first pitches, and everyone I spoke to, I asked them, would you want to throw out a first pitch? And I kept waiting for them to ask me it back, and they didn't.
One day.
Would you throw out a first pitch?
I absolutely would throw out a first pitch.
Right?
Yeah.
Would you stand? Okay, well, would you stand on the rubber or would you stand on the grass?
Yeah, I would stand on the rubber.
Right?
Are you allowed to?
You
they
are.
let you?
That was one of my questions. I asked them. I said, people never stand on the mound.
Yeah, they never do.
And they said they're allowed. They don't want to make a fool of themselves.
No, I'm totally willing to make a fool of myself, but I wouldn't because I got a cannon right here. This left arm throws about 55 to 60, Eddie. That would be a lot of fun. I've actually, along those same lines, I banged the drum at a Union game to open a game. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's like sort of this. It was like the opening pitch for soccer.
I feel like you could do it. Like,
yeah. Now that you mention it, I kind of want to.
You're a big deal.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Yeah, they're just banging down my door to be like, hey,
what do I do with
throw out
this?
this first
Throw it?
pitch. Just to throw it anymore. Next question is upside down. Should Phillies fans think that Spencer Strider is interesting? And I preface this because you also wrote about Spencer Strider, and it was very good. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, he's interesting. Like, they should think he's interesting. There's no, like, just because he's a Braves player doesn't mean you can't think he's fascinating. You know, I should have written this down. In addition to playing for the Atlanta Braves and being a baseball player, which is generally two things that make that like correlation, you tend to be conservative. He also, I think, went to like a very conservative, like Christian college. And he is not conservative, but politically and then also just sort of like broadly speaking, he's a very like interesting guy who's interested in arts and culture and concerts.
Not to say that no baseball players could be, but I find that kind of fascinating about him. Like the tight pants, he's got the tight pants. Everybody knows him for the quads, the stash, the whole nine.
But he is truly, you and I both, we talk to athletes for a living, and it really, it's more of a binary than maybe people realize. How it's like, a lot of them, they're athletes. They're looking over your head when they're talking because they're taller than you, and also because they're not that interested in you. And they kind of go into this almost trance when you talk to them, where they're doing their media training or they're falling back on cliches. And that sounds incredibly negative, and for the most part it is, but like, even Aaron Judge is actually like an incredibly charismatic person.
Yeah.
I just spoke to him for a story, and he shook my hand, and he's very engaging, but you don't feel like you're getting to know Aaron Judge. And that's fine. They got this kind of like, this is part of my job. Yeah. Spencer Strider, for being such an incredible, like, he's at this echelon where he could be that way, but he is genuinely, like, I interviewed him for the Bandwagon, and he came over, he said, hey, and I said, can I talk to you for us? And he said, yeah. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I was kind of nervous. He was recently off the aisle, and I was like, I don't know, did the beat talk to you yet? And he was like, nah, it's fine. What's up? Like,
I love that. That is rare.
Yeah.
That is very rare for those out there that don't know the behind the scenes of like how this stuff works. It is extremely rare.
Just like a normal dude to talk to.
Yes, Phillies fans should definitely be interested in him.
Absolutely.
Even though they have beaten him several times in the playoffs and probably made it hell for him in a certain way. He still seems like an interesting guy, and I'm down with that. All right, it's your turn now.
My turn. I'm getting the sense that I'm like more long-winded than some of your.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
We don't have to get to all of the questions. It's not a requirement.
Who is the most stylish Philly and MLB player overall? I'm gonna throw it to you first because I crowdsourced this with my family because I was like, who's the most stylish Philly?
The first person I think, Bryce is kind of.
That what my family said. Not Bryce. What's he doing with the puka necklace? What's with the puka shells?
I don't know.
Have you noticed this?
No, I have, but I don't know.
Are they back?
They could be. Feels like 2002 all over
right,
again.
Right, you should come back from the All-Star break with like frosted tips.
I used to have frosted tips, so I won't say anything about that.
I don't find that hard to believe.
You don't?
I don't. I do not.
I don't know if I should take that as a compliment or not. Nick Castellanos maybe has like the streetwear thing going on.
It's got the vibe of being. I think maybe Liam Castellanos.
Liam probably
is probably the most stylish.
Do you know anyone around baseball who strikes you as someone?
Francisco Lindor.
Oh yeah.
Francisco Lindor is a legit Francisco Lindor is legitimately stylish, very genuinely interested in fashion, goes to Fashion Week. He was profiled by GQ because, of course, and I thought this was fantastic. He like gave a quote that was like, "Some guys think they're stylish, and instead they're just like rich." He didn't say it actually in quite so many. I wish he had said that, but like his point was kind of like, just because you wear flashy clothes doesn't mean you are fashionable or stylish, and that is correct.
If you were Dave Dombrowski, would you go all in at the deadline?
I mean, I think Dave Dombrowski is being Dave Dombrowski is the person to be if you're going to go all in at the deadline. I think ideologically across the board, presidents of baseball operations, general managers are entirely too timid to go all in at the deadline because this is like maybe not that hot of a take, but I think as a fun thought experiment for the last couple of years, I like thinking about, does this team think they're going to win more games this year or in 3 years? Or does this team think they're going to win more games this year or in 5 years? And I bet if you asked every head of baseball operations around baseball, they would all say more games in the future. And you can't all win more games in the future. There is no more valuable commodity in sports than banked wins. Like, look at the Atlanta Braves this year. You can build what you think is a perpetual motion machine that's going to be good year in and year out. And every decision you make is with your focus on kind of maintaining that window of contention. But you don't know how the season is going to start, and how the season starts actually determines more than whatever plan you made 3 years ago, 5 years ago. That's, I think, a thing that in general has been an epidemic almost in baseball, is this feeling that front offices feel like whatever they planned for this year to be 3 years ago matters more for your decision-making process than whatever's actually going on this year.
Sure.
And so I think kind of like all contending teams at the top level of contention need to be more aggressive at the deadline, because you're like, if you think you could win this year, you probably have better odds of winning this year than you do in 3 years.
Agreed.
Like that's that's a thing people don't recognize. I think the Mets, even more so than the Phillies, are a team that is constitutionally unlikely to realize that because of David Stearns being their president of baseball operations. He's a guy who's built to be conservative and kind of prolong that window. I say that because I think like Dave Dombrowski is kind of a push your chips in type.
Yeah. He hasn't been over the last couple of years in that way. I don't know if it's just the market has dictated it that way. It could be. But I think like it's now or probably never with the age of a lot of these star players.
Absolutely. I think there's a sense that like that's what I mean. I wanna not that they care what I think, but I wanna like give GMs the sense of like people might say you quote unquote overpaid for the talent you got at the deadline this year, but it's not overpaying if you know that this is a year you could potentially win the World Series.
Agreed.
And you don't know that those prospects necessarily going to pan out.
That's a good point. All right, you're back up.
Ooh, who is the most interesting Philly? There's a lot of ways to take that.
You can take it however you'd like.
Dave Dombrowski. I love talking to Dave Dombrowski.
Yeah?
I think Dave Dombrowski is actually... All right, I'll give a different answer. But
No. Give that what?
I
Why?
think that Dave Dombrowski has a different mindset than a lot of front offices, and that he has a genuinely interesting perspective on how the game has changed. Like for almost any league-wide trend story that you're going to do, I'd be interested in what Dave Dombrowski would have to say about like, how has that changed? What have you seen? What would it like?
He's seen it all.
He's seen it all. And he's like, there are just, I also think that like, I'm not the first person to say this, but like people talk about how like Dave Dombrowski's skill is convincing owners to spend, and it's like fantastic. Not a lot of people have that skill.
That's very true.
That's not a joke. That's a real skill. I think
and he's got great hair. Can we be
hair.
honest about the hair?
He is so one of my favorite interactions I've ever had. Actually, is that I was like, this was any of the last couple of years when they got off to a slow start, and I was sitting in a dugout, I don't know if it was here or in New York, and Dave Dombrowski walked by, and I said, "Hey, Dave, how's your season going?" And he said, "Not great," and with a cheerful, he said, "Hey, not great," and he walked on, and I just thought, like, man, he does
always have a smile on his face.
Yeah, he just is like a jovial, calling it like he sees it.
That's a good answer.
I think his son is like a scout in the Mariners organization now or something.
I didn't know that.
Wait, who is the most interesting Philly?
To me, That's a good question. I probably should have thought about this when I created the question. The most interesting Philly. I wish I could get to know Bryce better.
Well, yes. I mean, like far and away, the correct answer is like Bryce Harper. Like, does anyone know Bryce Harper well? Then that's.
I mean, and we've talked to him a zillion times. We've put a microphone in his face, but we still don't know these guys to that level. I think Nick is kind of interesting. In his
Nick
own
is
way.
Fascinating.
And Kyle Schwarber is just like a good guy who I'd like to sit down and have a beer with.
Yes.
So in different ways, each of those guys.
I think Zach Wheeler. I'm waiting. There's a question that I want to talk about Zach Wheeler because you, spoiler, showed me some of these ahead of time. But in case we don't get to it, I'm loving what Zach Wheeler's got going on right now.
Yeah.
Just like, to me, it's crazy to just like, he's somehow established himself as everyone's answer to like who's the best pitcher right now, but in a way that people don't find incredibly compelling. Like he just kind of like people are like, oh yeah, like I guess I guess it's him. I guess it's Zach Wheeler. But like everyone thinks that.
But even in Philly, like you would think, just looking at the numbers side by side with Zach Wheeler and Roy Halladay, Zach Wheeler and Cliff Lee, he blows them out of the water,
right.
And yet we don't hold him in that regard here in the city just yet. And I've had this conversation with other people, other guests, on different shows, and it's like, yeah, you know what? You're kind of right. Like he should be thought of in a much bigger way than he is.
It's like if you ask people like who's the best pitcher, who are like the top 3 pitchers in baseball, they'll be like, oh, like already Paul Skeens and like this Tarek Skubal guy, and then they'll be like Zach Wheeler probably. If I had to take any of them though for the past like 5 years, I'd take Zach Wheeler. And
he's done this for 5 straight years too,
nobody can stay healthy, but he stays healthy. Like it's just.
But from an interest standpoint, we still don't really know about him either. Phillies Hot Pants Patrol. It was Alex Coffey wrote about Phillies Hot Pants Patrol and how they've all stayed in touch. Bring them back or leave them in the past.
You can't bring it back. You can't.
It's a relic of the, what was it, the 70s?
Yeah.
All right, keep it on the shelf. Biggest second half storyline to pay attention to. One from the Phillies and one from the rest of baseball.
Okay, from the rest of baseball, it's got to be Cal Raleigh, Seattle Mariners, switch it and catch her home run chase. Not getting
38 home runs at the break.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's what if he's going for 65? That's insane. That would be insane. That would be home run chases. Perfect baseball story. Everyone can get into it, and you know when it's going to happen. You just watch their at bats and you see if it happened.
What about for the Phillies? What strikes you there?
Okay, this is not a second half one, but this is the Zach Wheeler thing that I wanted to talk about, but I'll make it really, really quick. Which is like the next couple of years. I am very curious to see if Zach Wheeler actually goes out on top.
Retires.
Just is super good until the end and then calls it.
It's hard to do that. Hard for these guys to step away. That. Who's your favorite player to watch right now?
Well, I'm the Cal Raleigh at bats are appointment viewing because of the home run chase. Yep. But I think I'm loving that Byron Buxton is healthy and I'm emotionally invested in him remaining healthy. I'm very emotionally affected by players who have an incredible amount of talent but can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
It just feels like watching kind of other people pass you by in terms of like counting stats and money and and fame and everything.
That's a great answer.
And Byron Buxton in particular just feels like one where his whole career has been plagued by being the guy who would be amazing if he stayed on the field. I'm super glad that he's doing the home run derby, but I'm like, you're going to get hurt.
Don't get hurt, please.
You're going to get hurt in the home run derby.
All right. Your favorite story that you wrote in the first half?
Ooh, okay. I'm actually going to, can I tell you one that's about to come out?
Yeah.
Not about to. I'm not going to tell you all of it. I'm doing a big story from the New York Times. Very exciting.
Wow.
Style section, and it's on youth baseball, youth pitching in particular.
Okay.
And I've spent months, literal months, reporting it, and I think that there should be more coverage, like more serious coverage of youth sports, because it is a huge business. More people engage in youth sports than in professional sports.
Yeah.
There are a lot more little leaguers than there are major leaguers.
Is there a specific angle that you're taking?
There is.
Well, you won't give that away?
I won't give it away yet, but you should look for it.
Jacob Mizorowski is an all-star after 5 starts. Is this good or bad?
No, it's bad.
It's bad.
It's bad.
I agree.
It's not his fault, but it's bad.
Yeah.
He'll be there next year.
Hopefully in the year after,
Yeah.
5 starts. What is the least number of starts?
10.
10 is the number you
Or
would
even
go?
whatever. What did Skeens have? 11 last year, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's the Skeens thing felt like an authentic debate and dividing line and kind of like, wow, I think what this guy's managed to do in 11 starts is worth it. And it has to feel that way. If it doesn't feel that way, then it looks transparent.
Oh, here we go. Final question.
Okay.
How many home runs will Cal Raleigh hit for the Mariners, who we brought up here? 38 home runs at the break. What will he finish with?
59.
59 home runs.
Yeah, I think.
Is that just the number that popped into your head, or is there scientific?
Well, we're a little bit the All-Star break
it's
is
not
like
halfway.
Not halfway. We're like more than halfway. So this is it is tough to be a catcher.
Yes.
It is hard on your body. The baseball season is long. It is hard to keep up the pace. Generally, he has been as good in the second half as he's been in the first half. Here's the other thing, though. I think he is not loving all of the attention that is coming with it.
Interesting.
And this is not to say that he's going to be like, okay, let's not hit that 60th.
Right.
But I do think that like the amount of it, the attention is going to seriously ramp up as he approaches 60, and that is a genuine burden on your time, especially if the other job you are doing is catching, which is like an actual
which is really difficult anyway.
time burden, in the same way that we think like, how does Shohei Ohtani have time to do both? Like, catching takes up a lot of time every day, and he's not pitching once every 5 days or catching once every 5 days. He's catching every day. Like, the genuine like demands on his time, I think as he gets closer to 60, that will almost have like a deleterious effect, because it is just like he's already the issue with him doing this is that he is stretched so thin.
It says here the correct answer is 59
Oh,
home runs.
wow.
Yeah, you got
Thanks.
it right. Congratulations. Hannah Kaiser, our time is up. Thank you so much for coming down here and joining us. Go check out the Bandwagon. That's where she writes.
Thank you.
You got it.